What happens when a god is angry, and no one believes he still exists? The people of Ayetoro used to tell stories of Sango, the god of thunder. They said he lived in the sky, wore red and white, and carried a double-headed axe. They said if you lied, stole, or disrespected the gods, Sango would strike you down with fire from the heavens. But that was a long time ago. Now, Ayetoro was just a quiet village on the edge of a thick forest. Most of the young people had left for the city. The shrines were overgrown with weeds. The drums were silent. And the priest of Sango, Baba Adio, was now an old man with a bent back and shaky hands. He wore red and white every day, but people no longer bowed when they saw him. They shook their heads and said, "He's just a mad old man talking to spirits." Then one night, everything changed. It began with a sound. Boom. Then again, boom. The sky cracked open like it was tearing apart. But it wasn't raining. There were no clouds. Just thunder, raw and angry, like a voice shouting from the heavens. People stepped outside, confused and frightened. What is that? There's no lightning. Is it a plane crashing? Baba Adio stood in front of his hut, eyes wide, staring into the sky. His hands trembled as he whispered, "Sango has returned." The next morning, strange things began to happen. Chinedu, the richest man in Ayetoro, found his farm completely burnt. All his yams, his maize, and even his tractor, gone. Turned to ash. Yet there had been no fire, no smoke, and no smell of burning. His workers swore they saw red sparks fall from the sky during the night. One said he saw a man in white and red standing in the middle of the farm, holding an axe. "Nonsense!" Chinedu shouted. "You people believe too many old stories." But Baba Adio heard what had happened. He shook his head and said, "Sango has judged him." It was true that Chinedu was not an honest man. He had stolen land from the widows and cheated farmers out of their pay. People whispered that he had even bribed the village council. Still, no one believed it had anything to do with a god. Until the second night. A heavy wind blew through the village, bending trees and tearing roofs. But only one house collapsed, the house of Chief Olamilikan, the village head. He barely escaped with his life. His wife was not so lucky. People rushed to help him. He was crying, covered in dust and blood. I don't understand," he said. "Why only my house?" No one could explain it. The trees around his house were untouched. All the other roofs on that street were safe. Only his compound was destroyed. The next day, Baba Adio went to the village square. He carried a long staff wrapped in red cloth and shouted, "You ignored the warnings. You spit on the gods. Sango is cleansing this land." Some laughed at him. Others began to feel afraid. They remembered how the chief had refused to repair the broken shrine of Sango. He had used the money for his own roof. He also used to mock Baba Adio in public, calling him the Mad Thunder Man. That night, the village could not sleep. The sky was silent, but the fear was loud. Even children whispered in bed, "Will Sango come for us?" Then the thunder came again, louder than ever. Boom! This time, it hit the village transformer. Sparks flew everywhere. The power went out. The village was thrown into darkness. But the light did not stay gone for long. A red glow began to shine from the forest. Slow, steady, glowing like fire, but cold. People came out with lanterns and phones, but no one dared go into the trees. Then they heard the drums. Not from speakers. Real drums, deep, ancient, calling from the forest. "Gibiye, gibiye. Gibiye, gibiye." Only Baba Adio smiled. "He is here," he said. By morning, half the village wanted to leave. "I'm going to Lagos," cried a woman with 3 children. "I won't stay to be roasted by thunder." Even the youth who called themselves modern were afraid. "We need to bring back the shrine," said one of the elders. "Just in case." "We need to find out what Sango wants," said another. But nobody wanted to go to the shrine. It was deep in the forest, broken and forgotten. Snakes lived there now. Or worse. Finally, Baba Adio said, "I will go." He took 3 young men with him, Baba Adio, a carpenter, Lokman, a teacher, and Sadiq, a hunter. Together, they carried palm oil, kola nuts, alligator pepper, and red cloth. They walked in silence into the forest. The trees were thick and twisted. The air was hot and heavy. Strange birds called out from the trees. None of them spoke. When they reached the shrine, it was worse than they imagined. The walls had fallen. The altar was cracked. The statue of Sango lay face down in the dirt. Baba Adio knelt and cried. Then he whispered a prayer in Yoruba, "O Sango, Babatina Enta. Forgive us. We are your children who forgot the way. Accept our offering." They poured the oil and placed the kola nuts on the altar. Then, suddenly, the ground shook. A flash of red lightning struck the fallen statue. It cracked open, and smoke poured from it. Everyone fell to the ground in fear. When the smoke cleared, the statue was whole again. Standing tall. Red sparks danced around it. No one said a word. From that day, the thunder stopped. The village remained quiet. Peaceful. But the people changed. They rebuilt the shrine. They gave offerings again, yam, palm wine, and firewood. Even Chief Olamilikan returned in silence, his head bowed low. Chinedu left the village and never came back. Every year after that, during the dry season, the villagers gathered to remember what they called the Nights of Judgment. They danced, they prayed, and they told their children, "Do not forget the gods." And Baba Adio. He died peacefully 2 years later, surrounded by the people who once mocked him. They buried him in red and white, and thunder rolled gently across the sky during his funeral. Some say it was just the weather. But others say it was Sango, smiling from the heavens.